So good morning, welcome. If you haven't checked out that whole video, I'd recommend it. It was really interesting. It's about a 15-minute video. I know there's a lot of talk about discounting with electric cars and a lot of talk about government, but when you look at the market globally, it's 50% China. So it's very interesting to see the numbers in that market. Anyway, here we go. We are live. All right, here we go. Play.
Ready, set, go. Coming to you live, it's the AutoHub show with Ian and Jeff. Here we go.
So what would your dealership feel like if your entire sales staff was literally on fire, your sales and service staff? They were nonstop all over social media, completely dominating your marketplace. They could do it in 30 days or less, and then continue their education to do it for an entire 6 months or a year. You literally would completely take over the entire marketplace, and no one would be able to compete with you. And that's what we can do for you. So when you're walking around your community, whether you're at local restaurants or you're going to the gym, you don't want to be bothered? Fine, you won't be bothered. But a lot of people will walk up to you and say, oh my God, I love your social media. Your staff is amazing. We love what you're doing in the community. We want to come buy a car from you. We want to get an oil change at your dealership. Your community is absolutely going to love you. And it doesn't matter what platform you're on. You could be on TikTok, LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, all social media platforms. You will literally be all over the place. I've traveled all over North America. I've trained Toyota. I've trained Nissan. I've been to driving sales. I've been to Women in Auto. I get hired as a speaker for conferences at universities all over the country. And I can help change the trajectory of your dealership right now. If you click on the link, you can sign up for a webinar. It's live with me, and you'll learn the 7 strategies that you need at your dealership in order to see that success.
Hi, everyone. This is Paul Brobson, the CEO over at Trusted Sale. And if you don't know Larry Feldman at Career Changers, boy, are you missing out. Now, what are you missing, you might ask? Well, for starters, you're missing the world's best trainer. But seriously, what makes Larry a great trainer? It's how engaged he keeps his audience. I was at a store recently while Larry was conducting training. And let me tell you, nobody wanted to leave that room. I mean, even when they needed a bio break, they wanted to stick around and hear what Larry had to say. The great late Jim Valvano, who said, to me, there are 3 things everyone should try to do every day. Number 1 is laugh. Number 2 is think. Spend some time in thought every day. Number 3, you should have your emotions move you to tears. If you laugh, think, and cry, that's a heck of a day. Well, I can tell you, Larry's going to make you laugh. He's going to make you think. And yeah, every once in a while, he's going to make you shed a tear or 2. But one thing I can say, it's a heck of a day when Larry comes to visit. But wait, there's more. There is? Yeah. Not only is Larry a great trainer, but he's also one hell of a recruiter. So if you need people in your dealership, I mean anyone, you need technicians, salespeople, managers, BBC agents, whatever you need, Larry can get you staffed right with the right people and do it fast.
Ways to improve. Every month we want to improve better on what we did the month before, maybe the year before. It's about how fast we can get the cars done with quality work to get it to the front line, because that's where we make our money. And the bottom line is, the longer it takes, the more money we spend. We want to get it down as low as possible. Right now, like I said, we're in a great state. We're at 4.5 days. In recon, we want to know how quickly we can get the cars out of the recon process and to their front line. The average days in recon, and then the time to line of the Nissan equipment to get it. I'm Mike Burrell, and Service Director at JM Lexus.
Stay tuned for our new trailer on the next show. We're going to have a brand new trailer start to finish. Anyway, and Gail, if you want a new one for 2024, get it to me soon. right.
Yep, okay.
And good morning.
I'm gonna say the last video, I never really commented about it. There's that one video where the young couple was taking delivery of a car and they're talking to somebody. And there's a guy and a girl, and the girl just had that look on her face like, I can't believe you just did this.
Anyway, I picked a few books, really, and there was an interesting post today, if you haven't read it, from Brian Benstock about 50 years of change in 5 years. It was kind of interesting. But, basically, I think 2023, based on our shows earlier this month and also the predictions from 2022, it's really about how to make mistakes and learn from those mistakes. So a few books that I thought were good was The Courage to Be Disliked, which is probably pertinent with social media today. Do Hard Things, and Mistakes Were Made, but Not by Me, which I thought was kind of interesting, being that there's all this blaming all the time these days. Anyway, go ahead, Jeff, with the disclaimer.
I do love that book. The mistakes were made, but not by me. That sounds like the car business, doesn't it? It wasn't me, it was the other guy. But of course, as Larry just tuned in, we have the Larry Feldman disclaimer. No, sorry, Larry, I promise not to do that next year. So the views and opinions of those expressed today are those of our guests and not necessarily that of the AutoHub show, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Rock and roll. So it's the last show of 2023, and it's an advisory panel show. And we thought today we'd focus on mistakes and successes for 2023 and now 2024. But I'm sure other stuff will come up. And if you weren't already aware, our mystery guest show, we are booking guests for that as we roll into 2024. It will be a recorded show. The art may change. And that show will be trying to do interviews once or twice a week. And we'll hope to come out with shows a couple times a month. They will be recorded shows, so it'll be informal conversations.
We will still be on the Monday shows too.
Yeah, this is just a new show, just so you know.
It's a new show.
All right, so go ahead.
What we found was a lot of people that we were trying to get on can't do it Monday morning. I don't know why. The week starts Monday and et cetera, et cetera. And especially some people we've had from over in Europe, et cetera, just it's a little tough for them to, to sort of tune in at 11 Eastern when they're already, remember you had the guy from Italy who was sitting there swirling his aperitif after dinner, sitting there going, because, well, my opinion is that the retail industry is such that we must look at, just a second, I need another drink, so it was, it's different, but we're excited about that. We got some great people lined up and we're looking forward to it. So basically, so folks, tell me something. Welcome everybody. We're gonna, the recording is going to show everybody on screen for once, not just the speaker, because it's a forum. And so please tell us, in your opinion, and put up your hand, whoever would like to speak first. What did we do right in 2023? Don't all speak at once. The big challenge in the car business, the big challenge is, if I said, what did we do wrong? We'd hear, as everybody talks over each other. What did we do right, even in a banner year, even when things were the most amazing it could be, not because the market was there, we're like this. Let's ask Doug. Doug, I can see Doug's going like, I got something good. It is.
All right. Well, first off, personally, what I did right was join this show, and I want to thank you guys for this forum. I've greatly enjoyed joining this group and having the repartee that it happened. What did this industry do right this year? I think what they did right is they realized that perhaps the complacency that they developed in 2022 finally is gone. And maybe what they did right is they realized, man, we got really, really comfortable and now we can't be comfortable anymore. So I'm hoping that what this industry did right is they got slapped upside its head and it realizes everything we've been doing in the past isn't going to work anymore. We've got to look at this from a different paradigm. So I'm going to go with that. Okay. And I'll throw it out to the other three for their wisdom.
I'm going to share this. I'm going to share this that I picked up at NIADA, this shirt.
Uh-huh.
First prize a Cadillac, second prize a set of knives, third prize you're fired. We'll talk about that in the next segment. Who's next?
I love that shirt when that guy was giving
Okay,
us
I'll go next.
Okay.
Because I'm on the same page as I'm on a similar page as Doug. I think the dealerships that we've been working with have had what they've done right is they had to reflect back on themselves in their stores this year and say what's working and what's not working. And this isn't COVID, and people are not really paying $5,000 over MSRP, and I need to pivot and adjust. And I need to go back to process issues, follow-up issues, go back to like the things I used to do that are going to become issues if I don't go back to my processes that work for me, and staying ahead of the curve. So a lot of new car dealers that I've had conversations with, we've talked about their market day supply a lot, on their new car inventory and how that has changed and gone up drastically. And and I think they are doing things right from a marketing standpoint of asking their vendors, like, what should I be doing? My market day supply is going back up. I don't really spend a lot of time in the service and parts departments. So the only thing I can speak of from service and parts is I do know that a lot of dealers, I think what they have done right, from I guess the people that I work with, is a lot of them were trying to expand their service departments or hire better techs or the right techs, and things like that. But I think they're just reflecting and relooking at where's the economy going in 2024, and am I prepared for what it's going to look like?
I think that's all great advice. And there's a lady, she's a saleswoman at, I think, Moncton Mercedes-Benz. And she posted a really interesting post this morning, which was someone
For
told
those
me.
of you, excuse me, a little bit of an information blip here. For those of you who don't know, Moncton is in New Brunswick, a small province of the country of Canada, situated on the east coast, and is generally considered a nice little place, considering it costs a fraction of whatever else does to live there. Please continue.
So the thing that was interesting is she said, well, my mentor years ago, a young lady selling cars, Mercedes-Benz store, small market, she said, a mentor of mine said years ago that I'm a brand within a brand, and that's how I should be promoting what I do. And I was really interested in that because she's one of these people that just posts classy photos of her talking about Mercedes-Benzes. And it's not anything monumental, but she's very consistent. And I think she has a good story to tell. And it's really interesting.
Is she the girl in the videos where she runs her fingernails over the grill and goes, Mercedes-Benz?
No, it's her long nails, and she's like tapping.
Oh yeah, I know there's some guy parodying her on TikTok who's in the U.S. military going, Humvee.
So that girl is Kim Lebeck,
Okay.
and she does an exceptional well job at doing what she's doing, building her brand out, and as you said, very classy posts, very direct, very important to the brand and its identity. So she's doing a fantastic job on her social. What have we done right as dealers or the industry? I would lend it to two words: recognize and understand. We've recognized there's a problem, and we understand we need to find a fix. That's probably it. You still have dealers that are using archaic methods, but they're understanding that they have to tear it down to the foundation. They have to go that way. Otherwise, they will be extinct like the dinosaurs that they're portraying themselves to be. There's so much we can unpack on this, but that's my two foundations of what we've done right is they recognize and understand.
100%.
Perfect, thank you. Last but not least, Mr. Larry Feldman. What do you think?
I think the best thing the dealers did this year was they showed up and they went to work. Because as a recruiter, I can tell you showing up is more than 50% of it. And I think the smart dealers are still smart and the dumb dealers are still dumb. I don't think I've seen a dramatic change. I still see really sharp people doing sharp things. And as I said, the dumb guys, their oblivion continues. But I just think showing up and getting through. Personally, for me, I'm going to echo what Doug Reeves said. Obviously, being a part of your show, what Lethal Sales has grown into, mostly because of Peter Smith and all the stuff he's done, and just all the friends I've met along the way. It's been a really fun, eventful year, and I, for one, am very optimistic for 2024 for our world, hopefully, and for the business and for my business.
Let me ask you a question, Larry, based on, and Peter, I'll throw it out to everybody. The messaging that we've been putting out here, and you put out a Lethal Sales and other things, do you think that message is starting to resonate? Do you think more people are starting to say the exact same thing, just in different forums?
It's Doug, I got to tell you, just for me, I'm not sure. And the reason I'm not sure is I'm a little bit full of myself in the sense that I think because I'm funny, I read a lot, that I can influence people, but I'm not sure how much influence I have other than a very small circle of friends. Because, gosh, it's tough to turn people around. People are like businesses. They're these big ships, and it takes a long time for them to turn around. They're not like in a rowboat where they can just, do one little diagonal thing and everything rolls. I'd like to think that I, myself, Peter, that you, Gail, that everybody's making some kind of progress, but I don't know. I don't want to sound cynical. I just wonder, because I've espoused some pretty strong opinions in the last 20, 30, 40 years of my life. And man, it's amazing on how many people that I thought maybe I made some sense to acted like I'm not even there. So I don't know. Let me reverse it, Doug, because I love your posts and I love you, and meet you on the show has been a big plus, along with Gail and my boy Peter. How about you? I mean, you're a smart, influential guy. How many people do you think you've turned around? I mean, you've maybe turned around me or Gail or Peter, but we're already listening to you.
Yeah, I know. That's the thing, is I don't think it's easy to measure. I don't know how many people are really hearing the message. I mean, what's weird is, someone might reach out to you and say, "Hey, I saw your post," or something. "I'm intrigued," or something like that. But I don't really know. But then again, I guess the way I look at it is I don't know that I care. As long as my message is consistent and other like-minded people, the message is consistent, eventually there's going to just be more people delivering the same message. And eventually, I would think, just due to sheer volume, people will start listening.
Yeah,
I mean, Peter, you hammer LinkedIn with posts, and let's face it, you're not being a feather in this thing. You're hammering people. What do you think? I mean, do you think it's impact?
I think that Doug Reeves is one of the brightest guys I've met this year, and his philosophy is similar to mine. That this is pointless. Jeff and Ian, I say we close the show and go get some pizza.
I think it's about repetition. Personally, and consistency. And that's why I brought up that lady from Moncton. Gail has a thought. Go ahead, Gail.
Okay. I've been doing this for 7 years on social media. So your influence on social media, like Doug said, you can't measure it. So you can't manage something you can't measure, obviously. However, I've had in 7 years an ungodly amount of comments from people that have said, "I have been watching you for 7 years. I wanted to see if you would thrive, fail, succeed. I watch your content. I never comment. I never like it. I never share it, but I watch it every single week." And there's an ungodly amount of dealer principals that walk up to me when they randomly meet me at like a convention that say, "I know who that girl is. I watch her video every week, but I never shared or comment on it." So you'll never know unless someone actually tells you. But I'm actually surprised how many people actually, like, I know people follow AutoHub show because a lot of people have commented to me. "I know you're on that show on Mondays. I watch it. I'll plug in. I'll listen to a bit of their podcast, and then I'll tune out." but like the only way to know is from feedback. And I'm actually surprised how many people truly do watch it that I don't know who they are, but they follow me. So obviously I'm influencing them in a positive way somehow. I'm just being me and putting myself out there.
That's great.
I can relate to Gail because I understand that law enforcement has been watching me for years and hasn't made a move yet either. What are you referring to, Gail?
Yeah.
So Larry, what you're saying is when you one of these airports you land, every time you're walking through that the little tunnel and the side door opens, you get a little bit scared that you're going to be grabbed. And, one thing I have to comment on is
let me just jump in on those comments for 1 second, Jeff.
Yeah.
Okay, so what we're basically looking at is actually attribution. Are we getting attribution for what we're pushing out there? You can't measure it until you get the feedback, and that's the whole thing. You look at Auto Trader. Oh, you have to be an Auto Trader because Auto Trader is the holy grail of this business. And if you're not in it, you're never going to get a lead. Well, that's who knows? Who really knows? who can measure it because of attribution? We don't know. I just want to say one thing. I had a call last week with a gentleman by the name of Eric Smith, no relation, and he's trying to break into the automotive industry in the consulting area. And he's done a number of different things. And one of the things he said to dealers, and this really was impactful, the dealers turned around and said to him, "You don't know shit. You're not in the business. We're not even going to come close to hiring you." And he goes, "What do you mean?" He goes, "You don't know anything about car sales." And he goes, "Well, you don't know anything about consumers. I represent 50% of your business." And it was really impactful that he said that because dealers right now do not look at the other side of the fence. And the other side of the fence is the consumer. And until they understand the consumer journey, they won't get there. And that's why the CARS Act was just put in place. That's why all these different things that are falling into place, Toyota changing their website policies completely, Hyundai going to Amazon. These are all changing because the dealers want to be in that persona and perspective that they've lived in for the last 100 years. So Ben Sock is right. 5 years is going to equal 100.
Well, it's interesting that you bring that up because especially around the consumers, but more importantly, Jeff and I can speak a little bit to influence since we've been going to live shows now for probably 4 years. And the thing that shocked us, I think, the first time we went to live shows, but even does today, you'd be amazed the amount of people that you don't even know are listening that come up to you and go, "Hey, great to meet you in person," right? Or, "Hey, really like the content." You have no idea the influence you have until you get that experience. And a lot of people, they just listen. They don't necessarily interact. But that doesn't mean that when you reach out to them that they won't interact with you. They will. So you've got to bear that in mind. But more importantly, to use the Moncton example, it's about consistency. So no matter what you're doing, if it's monthly, if it's daily, if it's, in Peter's case, several times a day, it's really about consistency. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's just you've got to be consistent. And I think that's the key thing. But we have the sales genius who's being very covert at the bottom there. Maybe he has some thoughts. Did you want to chime in, have some thoughts, or are you just listening today?
Well, I'm driving, and most people don't like it if Joe starts talking while he's driving. But I will tell you that Gail, same thing happened to me when I was sitting down, had somebody follow me on LinkedIn for 3 years, never comment, never actually connected with me, just randomly sent me a message on my website saying, "Hey, I watched you, and what you've said over the last 3 years has stayed consistent. So now I want to bring you into the dealer group to train."
Yeah,
I was like,
that's
"What?"
a lot.
Yeah, and I was like, and so that was early in the beginning, and I was like, okay, great. I'm just going to take it as I put it out there, and those that want to will engage. So,
Well, you know something, the big thing is this, and we all heard about the term aha moments. And, I'll go for me. I'll just say me aha moments. Because, anybody who's ever tried to train salespeople, I hate to say it, salespeople are probably the hardest people to train. Because we hire them because they've got that type A personality. They're supposed to. And they're supposed to be go-getters, and they're supposed to have egos, etc. And you talk to them, and sometimes, and Larry, you probably train more than any of us. Sometimes you think like you're talking to a wall because they sit there and they just sort of have that look on their face. But when they come up, first of all, if it's just in your team and they go and they handle a deal, and all of a sudden you hear them say something like, holy cow, all that hammering is finally paid off. And they're actually using it. They may not listen to you or say that to you, just like things like, I'm kind of very, very pleased to hear the comments about the show, etc. Because Ian and I, we constantly sit there and go, oh, we're just these two little guys, two bald guys in a podcast is my favorite line now. And, but to have some impact. But for me, one of the biggest moments that's happened to me, and I've been very lucky numerous times, you bump into somebody random you haven't seen for 15 or 20 years. And it's guys, they come up and they give you a hug and they say, thank you very much. I want to tell you what an impact you have in my life. And wow, oh, wow, oh, wow. You gotta wipe that little tear away from your eye. Even a tough guy like Larry does it too, So sometimes it works. And like you say, at the shows, when somebody walks up to you and you don't even know who they are, and they comment to you, like you said, with these dealers or people that follow you. So yeah, you know what? A good thing is that we all do have impact.
Yeah.
And Jeff,
I'll
hey,
agree with
Robert,
that.
but can I get back to Doug's original question though?
Yeah.
It's, are we having an impact? And the interesting thing is, it's funny you said that. I just had a guy that I congratulated on being a manager in Florida. And he says, Larry, you started me out 11 years ago. I wouldn't have been here without you. So I get it. But I still want to get a little deeper. And Gail, I'm your biggest fan I still remember you with TikTok presentations, but I still think we're inclined to listen and lean towards what we already like and are familiar with. Okay. Listen, I always get help from Jeff and Ian because I bring politics in, because living in my country, I like every young person, I started out liberal, now conservative. So I'm probably not likely to tune into the Nancy Pelosi broadcast. Don't make me a good or bad guy. It's just not the way it is. I think people that listen to Gail are kind of upbeat and kind of like the idea. And the people that listen to me are looking to laugh. And the people are looking to Doug or Pete are looking for insight. So the question is, and I'm just respecting Doug's question because whacked as I am, I still like kind of stay in the same direction. Are we changing people? And that's the question. When we do, it's the greatest feeling on earth. Man, you turn me around. But I think human nature, Doug, and please, I'm more optimistic than I ever was, not more cynical, but the way human beings are wired is you got to hit them in the head with a hammer. Like, I could tell you, don't smoke, don't do this, don't do, but when you go to your doctor and he says, if you keep doing it, in 6 months you'll be dead, all of a sudden you're a health nut. You gave up smoking and you're eating papaya. So I think we tend to lean towards the people that we're interested and we like. And again, if you run into somebody really brilliant, they can change it. They can alter you. But how do you make that switch? Because the people that tune into Larry Feldman, like I said, like to laugh. The people that tune into Gail want to learn how to deal with media a little bit better. So I'm not arguing the point. I enjoy listening to all you folks. I would tune into all of you. And Ian and Jeff and Peter, and just because of proximity, have become some of my best friends. And I'm not using that term lightly, but I was inclined. I called up Ian and Jeff and said, I just watched your show. Man, it's terrific. Could I be on? And Ian, not realizing I was mentally unstable, said, sure, I'm sure you'll be just fine. We love America. And that my first damn show was on with John Lotka and John Kostakis. Well, Lotka and me have become really good buddies. And Kostakis, a month later, I'm in Canada torturing Canadians. But again, if I looked at Ian and Jeff's show and I said, they're too liberal, they're too conservative, I don't like their opinion, they're this, they're that. You mentioned Ben Stock. Ben Stock is a really bright, accomplished guy, but there's people that don't watch him because they think he's too intense. There's people that only watch him because they love the intensity. They love to see him at the gym and lifting weights and his veins are bursting out of his neck. So I still think we lean and tend towards what we lean and tend for. Or you wouldn't realize that it's not 1964 because you got a new Stones album and a new Beatles singer.
Well, yeah, I mean, I was watching a recorded interview. I think it was with Musk on one of these shows, and he said, "Yeah, Twitter is interesting because you have people of various types." And in the interview, he was saying, "Hey, I don't like the Mean Girls." He says, "Don't pay attention to the Mean Girls," and I thought that was really interesting.
I think people, Jeff and Ian, join the AutoHub show because you guys make people feel seen and heard and validated. That's why I think people are attracted to you guys, because you have shows where people can speak authentically and voice their opinion about the car business, which is one of the reasons why I like being a part of you guys, right? I pick and choose people in the car industry. I pick and choose where I spend the money. As a sponsor, I pick and choose which shows I'm going to go to, but I pick and choose people. So I think you guys are really good at making people feel seen, heard, and validated.
Appreciate that.
You know,
Yeah.
we have always strived. One of our things that we do is we say it's not about us, it's about our guests and it's the people on there. And we try hard to do that. Even though, frankly, you got two guys that really love to talk. I got a reputation for talk. But the fact is, we try really hard to shut up and make it about you guys, about our guests. That's the whole purpose of the advisory panel, because you people have been very staunch supporters, but you're also really smart, and that really helps. And people pick up some really good things. I do have to comment on Doug's comment about Peter. And Peter, you hammer people. You got such deep information there. And I've yet to have read anything you post that I don't agree on.
Hold on. I got a
Disagree.
comment.
Don't disagree.
I got a comment that addresses Jeff, and now I think makes, at least from my end, this conversation circular. One of the things that I liked about Ian and Jeff when I watched their show was, to Jeff's point, they absolutely made it about the guests. And I said it then, and I say it everywhere. I even say it on our show, Peter, that they're two of the nicest guys in the car business. So I guess, Doug, to answer your original question, because it takes a while to get my brain to engage, one of the things I can see has changed is I love it. I teach it, and I had it in my career. I love it when a customer says to me, "Man, you're pretty cool for a salesperson." That I love, when we can change people's perceptions of who we are and what we're doing. I think that's the greatest.
And Jeff, we got Mr. Dave Jackson, at least being as covert as he normally is, but maybe Dave has some thoughts on, what were his biggest wins in 2023 as a dealer.
Yeah, that would be a good thing, except I think Dave's being very shy.
Yeah, I don't know about Dave.
Yeah, actually, he's probably
Usually shy.
No, he's not, but he's probably got it turned on while he's done. It's very funny. Something I quite enjoy when we see people tuning in and they're at work or whatever, and they work in a dealership. And the thing we can all relate to in a car dealership, we're trying to do a task. And then squirrel. Yeah, okay, come on, forget about you. Boom, when we start, that's what I love about the business. And it's the jazz. And actually, you talk about jazz, you talk about training. Let's talk about Larry and his training jazz. If you ever attended one of his sessions, it's great. I've been to two of them, and with the exception of one, I always bring them up. One sales manager at a Lexus store just outside of Vancouver. Larry's standing on a chair talking, and he's busy sitting there ordering cars on his laptop. Everybody pays attention.
And yet that guy, I swear to you, just reached out to me, said he's moving, because you know who he is. He's moving to Toronto and he wants to reconnect with me to see if I can help the store. So how cool is that, Jeff? You know what? We're back to Doug's point, maybe we are making a difference.
Yeah.
And I think you got to also remember, especially from a training perspective, and having trained dealers myself over the years, is a lot of it's repetition. It's you can't expect someone to just take it and do it. And I always use this example of this gentleman I trained who was in his 80s. I think he was 84. He'd been in the car business for I think over 60 years. So he's selling used cars a couple days a week because he didn't want to be bored. I think was his wife told him to get out of the house or something to that effect. So I talked to him and I said, okay, what, we trained him on a phone sales process. And the next day he was using it. But all the people that were in the 25 to 40 range, they needed more training, but he got it really fast. So it's also a little bit about, the individual, but it's about repetition. Sometimes you got to repeat the same message a lot. And I would say that's true in social just because of the amount of stuff out there. But, I would say that's also true in training. You can't expect that first time for the people to just get it and use it. You're going to have to do
The
some
hardest thing
repetition.
in training is, though, is to get people to understand, to remove the emotion from the motion. And this fella you just mentioned, he's working because he's trying to, forgive me, he's trying to stay alive. Because if you sit and retire and do nothing, the brain dies. And he picks up something and he goes, he doesn't care if he sells the car or not. He doesn't need that deal. And all of a sudden that carries over to his customers. And he says the right words. He said, look, if you're not ready today, it's okay. And all of a sudden the customer goes, how many times have we all seen the customer like this? And we tell them something like that and they go like this. They go, it goes, I always used to talk to salespeople about relating it to dating. And if a person who wants to get to know another person romantically, see, we're now in 2023, we must say person, Larry quiet. If a person wants to get to know another person and they say, hi, do you like me? Do you like me? Could you like me? Could you like me? Please like me. They go, hey, gotta go, thanks, you're nice. But if they go, hey, what's up? Hey, it'd be nice to know you, but it's okay if you don't. Oh no, I want to know you. It's an interesting thing. And we could never teach getting away from emotion.
Can I ask you guys a question?
Yeah.
I mean, if we agree that what they got right was a new awareness, what do you think dealers and if I've never met Dave Jackson, but it's nice of him to join. What do you think they're most afraid of in 2024?
From a dealer perspective,
That's a loaded one.
there was some interesting political car news in this country, and there was a bunch of representatives from the manufacturers, from the dealer body, and from business up. I think on the weekend, talking about an announcement coming out. I think it's coming out this week, where they're saying, "Listen, 2035, no more gas cars." And the guys from their organizations, and there was a series of them, I think 3 or 4 in the Canadian market, there's probably 20 in the US market. They stood up and said, listen, this makes no sense. Here's the math. Okay, the math is this. We're happy to work with the government, but that's scary. If you're saying, okay, I'm going to force you to stop selling these cars in this period of time. I think that has got to be a little bit intimidating to dealers, in my opinion.
I must get political here. It is an announcement by a liberal government for a liberal topic that is obviously going to be going to elections soon.
Yeah,
I'm not saying either way, I'm just saying.
The math didn't even make sense.
Let's think about.
Dave's coming. He's thinking of Bill Beaches. Dave's got an opinion.
Tell me what next year, 2024, because, Peter, you've said it so candidly, dealers living in 30-day cycles, which is erroneous. If they're looking at just next year, what are they worried about?
Dave, what do you say?
So Dave's the dealer. Dave's the super dealer.
Yeah, this will be great. Dave, nice to meet you. We've never met. I'm Doug Reeves. I can't wait to hear what your thought is on this.
Sorry, I was just listening to new Mousetrap version 28. I missed the question. Sorry.
What is your biggest fear in 2024 as a dealer? What are you concerned about?
God, there's so many things. you talk about the big announcement. I mean, I'm in Alberta. We have an anti-electric government and everything else, right? So we're only gonna have cars after 2035. Well, we only sell 2 cars anyway, so. I mean, you got to read into the optics on a lot of it too, and like Jeff says, it's a politically charged storm. I understand it's all over Europe and everything else. We have to do the electrification. We have to buy the chargers. We have to set all that stuff up. I mean, I was at a conference here a couple months ago, and like the gentleman said, Henry Ford built cars, and there was 2 things missing: roads and gas stations, and it kind of worked out okay for him. I think it's very easy to make an argument what we know compared to what we don't know. The unknown is always the unknown. We've learned more about electrification in automobiles and electrification of the world here in the last 6 months than we probably have in the last 20 years. And every time you hear something, you adapt, you adopt. The biggest factor is cost. The cost of the vehicles is a big item. Longevity, repairs, maintenance, all of that stuff. I think all of that's going to iron itself out. We talked about the price of vehicles, and yet the used ones sell. So it's not so much the vehicle that scares people; it's the price tag that scares people. So I think we all have to kind of adapt to that and change and move ahead. And we can pretend it's not going to happen. We can kick up our heels and yell and scream and everything else, but it's still going to change. I mean, Europe is 2030. We're 2035. Really, what does it mean? We have emission targets that we were supposed to meet by 2020. We didn't meet them. We have emission targets we're supposed to meet by 2025. We won't meet those. You got to take politics out of it too. You talk about election here, you get election in the States. I'm pretty sure that Trump isn't going to be a big advocate of electric vehicles either. So who knows? I mean,
Dave, I do have to comment. I don't mean to cut you off. I want to hear more from you. But you brought up an interesting thing. Now, for those of you who don't know, Dave is a JR dealer, which is a Jeep Ram dealer that also has the flag for Chrysler and Dodge on his store, like so many of them. And back in the 80s, when there was an embargo on imported vehicles coming into Canada, probably the States too, I can't remember. Not an embargo, a limit, a cap on imported vehicles. Toyota got around it in Canada because trucks didn't apply. And at that time, Toyota was a 85% car seller. They sold 85% cars. They would bring in their minivan, which I can't even remember what it was called then, as a bare shell as a cargo vehicle. It hit the port where they put the interiors in, and they were allowed to import them. So the point being is they have this rule about 2035 cars. Well, frankly, how many dealers do you know, even Honda and Toyota now, that sell mostly cars? So there's a way to get around it. And that's you, Dave, you just pointed that out. Please continue.
Well, like I said, the car thing. I mean, we're hearing all these stories, all these Ford, GM, dropping their electric production, but we're still progressing with battery plants. The manufacturers are still building battery plants. It's coming. It's coming, and it's going to cost us, and it's just the cost of doing business, I guess. You can either adapt and go, or you can sell and go.
You don't like that Ram Charger, huh?
Yeah, I did like it. I liked it a lot. I like the Ram Charger. I like the new Charger. I like the new a lot of the new Chrysler vehicles. I liked a lot of them.
Couldn't be a better name for an electrified car, but a Charger, huh?
Yeah.
So if I'm hearing you right, and are we thinking that the dominant concern on dealers' minds is going to be anything and everything having to do with EVs, whether it be infrastructure paying, whether it be inventory costs, whether it be all of that, and that will trump their focus, or what? I mean, I'm just curious because this is a room that's been all about the customer experience, and is that going to focusing on EVs? Is that going to take their eye off of customer experience, or How will that be? I mean, I'm curious. I mean, Peter, what do you think? I can see your brain spinning.
Well, having experienced both in mining and automobiles, I understand what the restrictions will be to try and meet these mandates and how hard it's going to be for anybody to get even close to them. Never mind meet them. It's almost a physical impossibility. In Canada, we have to open up 435 graphite mines a year to meet the demands of the lithium ion battery industry. We're lucky if we open 20. And so it's going to be a major, major concern. I was in the graphite business because I saw the opportunity 15 years ago for this, and I got out of it because of the restrictions. So it's going to be very difficult. The infrastructure, the safety, there's all kinds of things that we have to look upon before we actually get headstrong into meeting these mandates. Is it going to happen? Yes, absolutely. The EVs are coming. Will it make 100%? I don't think so. I think we're going to be somewhere around a 30 to 35% penetration, and it's going to max at that in North America. Just unless we go to solid state batteries and everything, but then again, that cost increase again, and it's just the constant cost increase of new technology. I attribute it back to the cell phone. I took a bank loan when the Motorola brick was around, the 8,000. I took a bank loan to get one. I paid $1,000 a month to have it and use it for a cell phone. Cell phone costs went down dramatically afterwards, and it continued to slide down to the gig away from phones that were way more advanced than the brick. Now, having said that, that's where I see the battery technology and other forms of propulsion, hydrogen. There's all kinds of different things. I don't see EVs going to be only EVs moving forward in the zero emissions economy. So it's gonna change the industry. There are a massive swath of U.S. dealers that are against it. 4,000 of them just signed a petition because they're sitting with huge floor plans that they cannot get rid of. They're 200 plus days of supply. Some are over 365 days supply on EVs, and they're dying on the vine down there. And meanwhile, you have a manufacturer that forced them to put $1.8 million into infrastructure into the dealership, and they can't sell, and they had to do it. So there's a lot of issues that are going to come forth in 2024 for that. But the one thing that I can say that 2024 is going to bring is visibility, because dealers are going to have to get into the visibility game. They're going to have to understand that what is on the statement is not always what's happening. And one of the things that I've been a big proponent of is turnover costs, because it's not on the statement. No one actually looks at it, and it's huge. It is a real issue, especially when you have a dealership that has 50, 100, 200, 300 employees.
But what about
that cost for replacing people is well worth it. I encourage the dealers to continue to reach out.
but what about the expansion of used cars? I mean, I don't know if everyone saw the press last week. H. Gregg is building the largest used car dealer in Texas. But I mean, what's your thought there, Dave, on dealers who are just going to say, yeah, it was nice selling new cars, but the used car game just has, less restriction. I mean, I'm curious, especially in Alberta, when you look at trucks being the big market, do you see a lot of dealers pivoting, saying, "Hey, maybe I'll do a little bit of both and see where that goes"? Like I have my used car division and I have my new car division, and we'll see what happens. Do you see a lot of that in the market?
You're on mute, Dave.
Okay. Well, a couple of things you guys touched on there. Number one, you talked about customer experience and how important that's going to be. I think it's going to be paramount. I think it's going to be more important than it ever was. If you look at all the manufacturers, everybody has a big push on now for CX, customer satisfaction, higher customer ratings. Because, and I feel that it's going to come to a point where you're not going to have a customer coming in looking for a Hemi. You're not going to have a customer looking for, different components that we've been used to for years and years and years. Like, I mean, you talk to any car guy, and the first thing he does is he tells you he had a 74 Challenger with a, whatever engine. He had this car with this engine. They're all gonna have the same engine, like, I mean, I've got an air conditioner in my house, and quite frankly, I don't know what pumps on it, and I don't really care, but it works. It's a good air conditioner. The ratings are good. The customer satisfaction is good. That's why I bought it. Okay. And I believe that cars are going to come to that point where the engines it doesn't matter. The engines, the drivetrains are not going to be the thing. We saw Cummins diesel trucks. Who cares? It's going to be the customer experience. It's going to drive people to the dealerships. It's not going to be the vehicle anymore. That's number one. Number two, I've always said this, when the banks start restricting financing on vehicles, you want to build your I think used cars are going to be around for a while, but I also think that the lenders are going to restrict the terms. I mean, I don't know how big an appetite they're going to have for giving 7-8 year financing on used vehicles. It's when the market's, I don't want to say the market's not there, but the price and I also believe that the electric car EV market is going to be, we're going to see a return to leasing. I think a lot of the manufacturers are going to crank up the leasing to get people early adoption into these vehicles where you're not in an 8-year finance term. We hear these horror stories, we read these horror stories. Some guy in BC, $60,000 for a battery for his vehicle, and I mean, the industry's always adapted, and there's always something that's come along to cover, whether it be the maintenance, the batteries, the gap insurance, we've got a million things that cover a million different things. I think we're going to see the manufacturers get into a bigger leasing program. I think they're going to hold their more emphasis on the end values, the lease values, and I think that's how we'll get more of these vehicles on the road. You guys in BC and Quebec have got heavier restrictions than we do in the rest of the country. You guys, you have to have a higher percentage much quicker than we do. We also see, I read an article last week about Stellantis laying off a bunch of people because they can't meet their emission targets in California. So they've got a lower production so they can sell more EVs. Well, you got to rebate them too, right? Like you got to do something because they are very, very expensive. I looked at the price of a new Grand Cherokee. I bought a used one. It sold in like 3 days. So it tells me it's not the vehicle, it's the price.
Right.
Right.
Well, the reality too, which we talked about too on EVs, is that technology is changing at breakneck speed. And, frankly, as used car dealers, you take in a used EV, I don't care what it is. That's a risk, period.
Well, there was that
I
case.
was commenting last week.
As a dealer, I'm no different than a consumer. The consumer is very hesitant to go buy an EV. So is a dealer. Buy one, to buy two, buy 5 of them. I don't think so, right? So we have the same apprehensions. It's not like somebody just said, okay, you've got a higher risk tolerance than anybody else, so you should buy a bunch of these. No, I don't.
No.
So,
it's a scary thing. It's a scary thing. And, here's the other thing about these rules and regulations. I hate to say it, and without setting Larry off, the US just turned over Roe versus Wade, which was around for 50 years. So who says in 12 years, a new government in Canada or 2030, their thing in the States is not going to say, no, that's done. You know, if there's a change of government in the US in a year, they're going to do away with it.
Jeff, go back before Roe versus Wade. In the United States, they thought it was a good idea for morality reasons to stop people from drinking liquor. And all they did was increase the production of liquor and build up organized crime. I think a lot of people, hey, Dave's in business to make a profit and he wants to do things that make sense. But the problem that a lot of people have with this concept is it's built on a specious argument. We're trying to cut emissions, and the biggest people that pollute are China and India, and they could care less about these things. It's Dave, we have a problem in our country now. The common way to break down inflation is to raise interest rates and tamp down the economy and spending. But we keep spending more and raise the interest rates, and now people can't afford a damn house, and a lot of them can't afford a car. So I honestly think that the right approach, not that anybody asked me, is if you want to buy an electric car, buy one. Certainly a hybrid makes more sense, but I'm very skeptical. Even Peter's number, the 30% thing. I think it should be made available, but to restrict everything else is scary. And as you started to allude to, there's other concerns. How about the fact that 2 years ago we had no cars and interest rates were zero, and now people have a lot of cars and the interest rates crush you with the floor plan. So I think that's a giant concern on top of everything. So
Yeah, but you know, what's interesting is that, Dave, I think you brought up an interesting point, and the rainbow in this to me is if EVs are going to be whatever EVs are going to be, dealerships do have the opportunity to crank up their customer experience simply from the standpoint of we are the source of all things EV. If you want to know about it, if you don't understand it, because the vast majority doesn't, we're the place to come and we'll educate you and we'll help you out. And it could be leasing versus purchasing, new versus used. But there is that window now where dealers can redefine their store based on using EV as the triggering mechanism. And I think it's a great opportunity for progressive dealers to think that way.
I have to interject, guys. We're just getting. This has just gotten really warmed up and good, but unfortunately, we are running out of time. And just as Friendy joined in, that's hashtag Friendy, Friend and Wendy, of course, Santa Claus and Mrs. Claus, or in this world, the Claus.
The Claus.
The Claus. I want to thank everybody. That was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed that. It's always a shame that we're 50 minutes to go and it's just getting good.
Pick it up.
But before I turn over to Ian, I just wanted to thank everybody for this year. It's been great. The support's been fantastic. We have enjoyed it immensely. Next year is going to be, we're going to have a little bit of new looks, and hopefully we can use some of the comments made today on our new intro reel, Ian, and nudge, nudge, wink, wink.
Yep.
And Dave, all the best to you, all the best to everybody. May it be a Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, whatever you want to call it, and a
Merry Christmas, we call it.
Yeah.
Happy holidays, healthy holidays.
Merry
Everybody
Christmas.
do well.
All right.
Thank you.
Adios.
Take care. Peace out. Take care, guys.
Oh la la. What? Thanks for joining us. It was a great show, and follow us anywhere you would like on your favorite podcast, on Facebook, on LinkedIn, and of course on our YouTube, or subscribe to our own channel.